Welcome everybody. My name is Miles. I'm going to go through my solder station setup today and what I've been using for a long time. And I go back 40 years when I walked into class, electronics tech class. That was a year-long class and they taught you how to solder. That's all we did for the whole year. They said you pick up a soldering gun, pick up a solder sucker exactly like this one, and pick up some 60-40 solder. That was a requisite for the class. No books, everything was hands-on. He said, if you need books, there's a library right down the road, and we use that a lot as we go through and understand electronics. But it was a pretty cool class back then. Had a 50% dropout rate. Another reason why I'm doing this today is because I got a HAKKO solder gun. It's a FX 888D. I absolutely love this thing. I've had it for quite a few years. It's probably compared, if you compare it to a car, it has 200 something thousand miles on it. Works just as I bought it yesterday. It's that good. But if you notice, my tip is nice and clean. I always clean my tip when I get done using it. Big blob on the end, nice and shiny. And this HAKKO has a Brillo pad in here to help clean your tip. And there's a sponge, you put water on it. So you're always cleaning your tip off, shaking it off, putting new solder on it. If it doesn't look nice and clean, wipe it off, scrape it again, put solder on it, and do that before you put it away. Never put a gun away without putting solder on your tip and cleaning your tip. It's very important. I've had this tip on here for at least 3 years. Say for instance, that's the type of cleaning for this, but there's another level of cleaning that you have to do every 3 to 6 months. If you struggle with solder and you have a good tip, you're using the 60-40 solder, which I'll go through here shortly, and you got the right temperature. I use anywhere from 570 to 630 for my temperature. I've never had to stray too much from that. But the other side of cleaning a gun that will help you out with your struggle. If you're struggling, this is what you need to do. You need to take the bolt on here, the nut, and loosen up just a little bit, and then twist the end. It should sound, I don't know if you can hear that, but it should sound like a bird call. These things get so hot that the connection between here deteriorates. Always. It's just the nature of something getting this hot. So make sure this is not snug, but so it's just friction. And then you all have to do that to the tip, and then you got to do that to the shroud, the case, and go back and forth and tighten it down. Put it this way: if that is tight and your tip is nice and shiny and using the right solder, you're between those temperatures, you can't solder, replace the tip. But majority of the time it's this connection. If you have a good gun like this, these are screw-in tips, and then some of them have a little screw in the side. Loosen it up a little bit, take this thing, go back and forth, tighten it down, and that's it. I bet you if you have one of these, if you've never done that, if you go out there, I guarantee your tip's gonna be a little bit loose. If not, you got a connection problem. That's just, if you've never done that, go do it. Make sure you, next time you use it, do it, and you're gonna notice a big difference. But it also requires the right solder too. This is 60-40 solder, and it has flux in the middle. I use anywhere from a 1/16 of an inch to a 32nd of an inch, which is I think 0.8 mil. I think I even have one of these is a 0.6 mil to 1.3 mil, right in that area. I like the little bit bigger solder because inside is hollow. That's where the flux is. And this is what it looks like. It looks like this. That is what makes solder flow. You have to have that, and it's good for cleaning the tip. So the thicker it is, the more flux. It's better easier for soldering, to make the solder flow, and for cleaning your tip. If you struggle a little bit, it's because the wire is old or corroded and so forth. Then you have to buy you know, flux and put a little bit of flux on there. They come in this form here, and then you just dip your wire in there. But this right here is my tip cleaner. It says right on here, tip tinner, it says. And that's what I use. Sometimes I put my gun away because I get involved. I forget to put solder on it, and it sits in there and gets black, and I gotta work at getting it clean. I usually dip it in the tip cleaner and then wipe it off. Dip it in the tip cleaner, look at it, put solder to it, scrape it off, dip it in the tip cleaner, put solder on it, now I can put it away. So sometimes I have to work at it to get it nice and shiny and clean. Put it this way, if this is not shiny and clean, like it's supposed to be, your solder joint is not going to be shiny and clean like it's supposed to be. Using the correct solder, the 60-40, 60% tin, 40% lead, those two combinations have a lower melting point together than if they were separate, and the solder itself gets hard within a second. So that means when you have a wire, you're holding it, you have to hold it for 1 second without moving it. If it moves, it's going to be dull, and you'll see a line between it. Just like you see a line between my fingers, you'll see a line between it, which would be a bad connection. But 640 makes it so it hardens within a second. If you do something like 50-50 wire, this is 60-40, 2% flux. If you use 50-50, you got to hold it for 3 or 4 seconds, and that's hard to do. The other thing that helps you hold wire is I unravel it. This is what I do for my wire, because you do need a third hand for soldering. Just unravel it, wrap it around your hand a few times, break it off, squeeze this together, and wrap it around. And then what you do is bend it, and there's your third hand right there. Now you can solder wire. That's what I do. That works out for me. The other thing are tips. When you first get a gun, what you must do is, trying to find the right tip here to show you. When you first get a gun, the first thing you have to do is, when it gets up to temperature, is you have to put solder on it. On this tip, this one you'll probably be able to see the most, the easiest, I'm thinking. If you look at this tip, there's a special coating on the end. As soon as it gets up to temperature, put solder on here. Fill this thing with solder. Make sure it's a big giant blob in there. That protects that tip. If you don't do that, since when you first get it, you'll have a hard time ever cleaning this tip. I don't know why. It's probably because of the type of coating that's on here. You notice after I get done, that's a new tip. When I get done using the tip, I put a big blob on here before I put it away, before I take it off. That tip should last you for years. But if not, just replace it. If you've done everything else, tighten down your tip, got good solder, replace the tip. And from that point on, make sure you're cleaning your tip all the time before you put it away. Solder suckers. This is the go-to for me. I've had vacuum pumps, hot air pumps, heat guns, solder sucker stations. They all have their purpose, because I've been soldering my whole life. But this right here, this is my go-to. I've tried everything. I've got tons of these solder suckers, these manual suckers. I got all kinds of them over the years. They sure look pretty, but look at the volume this has compared to this. This thing has 3 or 4 of the suction power of this, and they're easy to clean. You just I just turn a half turn, pulled it out, push this down in here to get all the old solder out, Put some 3-in-1 oil on here. It's an O-ring. I don't know if you can see that. Put it back together. That's it. That's it. This thing, none of these compare to this. This thing's less than 10 bucks to give you 2 extra tips. You need nothing more than this for 90-something% of your 99+% of your desoldering. Absolutely incredible. I feel stupid for buying all these. And I feel more stupid for saving them. That's only because I got room, I guess. But this is all you need. These things are incredible. Amazon. Same thing with my gun. I love my gun. Has, I don't know how many thousand of that they sold, and it's 5 stars. Incredible. I can't say enough good things about this gun. So that's my experience. I'd love to hear yours. I don't get to use all the different types of solder that's out there. I mean, the other name brands. I don't get to use all the different types of guns. I don't get that opportunity. I don't get the opportunity to use all, well, yes I do. I use a lot of the different solder suckers, but I'd love to hear your experience. Everybody's a little bit different. Everybody has something to contribute. So please hit the like, comment, and share your experience. So thanks for watching. Have a good day.